There's little bitty key things that me and you may not even ever think about. Yeah. We know we catch them there, but it's like that very, very little minute detail is, what's holding those fish. And you're talking during the wintertime, we're not talking a couple fish. You're talking wads of fish.
Yeah.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Hey, we're glad you're tuning in. We got a special edition show today, but first I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Don King, right here.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year, Jason.
Happy New Year. Yeah, it's a new season, a new year. It's January, and today we've got a special edition show.
Hey, we're going to have some education today.
Education, yeah. Fishing 101 edition of the show. I'm excited about that. In-house is Mr. Ian Huey. He's a guide for the Old Hickory Guide Service, owns his own business there, and we're glad to have you.
Glad to be here with you guys.
I think it's going to be a fun show. We're going to learn a lot, right?
Lots of learning.
Lots of learning.
That's right.
If you want to check him out, fisholdhickory.com. That'll be how you find him.
That's good, yeah.
And if we want to rattle out a phone number, we can do that too. But fisholdhickory.com, you can email him and contact him through there and take advantage of some of his guide service. But we're going to learn a lot today. We're going to learn about where bass go in the winter.
That's good, yeah.
A lot of people don't know. Some fishermen just get out there and hope for the best. Some know what they're doing. Some are used to fishing certain patterns, and then they don't always fish the same way.
That's exactly right, yeah. And during the wintertime, more than any other time, the majority of your fish are actually going to be using the smallest amount of water that they will all year. I like to say that 90% of your fish are actually going to be in 10% of the water, and it can be really intimidating, when we try to break down a larger body of water as compared to a pond or, lake like that, so we're going to go over all that today, kind of awesome. what we look for, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, let's start with ponds. Some ponds are flat and all the same depth. Some have dams on them where they have deeper spots. So explain to us, for a pond, say a pond with a dam, where would you target fish?
Absolutely.
In the wintertime?
Yep. So general ponds they're actually going to be the easiest that you can actually take on during the winter. The bass, they don't have anywhere else to go.
Right, they're kind of stuck.
They're going to be right there in your face. When we talk about ponds with holes, that kind of thing, that's absolutely where they're going. Okay. Regardless of your bottom, whether it be a muddy bottom or a hard bottom, they're going to be in the deepest part of that water, and that's 110%. Doesn't matter, if it's on the north end of the pond or the west end, they're going to be in that deepest hole where the water is most stable for them.
Yeah.
So if we've got a dam, generally dam's going to be made of some type of rock or hard object that's going to hold our heat. That's obviously going to draw our bass. Anytime we've got anything that's a little different, be it a dam, log, brush pile, that's where your bass are going to be. And really, in particular, in a pond, they don't have anywhere else to go. They don't have the contour lines and stuff. So that's really what I'm looking for. So
what about what if there's no structure and it's just a flat pond?
Exactly.
Farmers dug out and it's just one level.
Yep. So
what are you looking for there?
They've got to go somewhere. A bass is not going to sit in the middle of the water with nothing around him. He's going to be on an edge. So generally speaking, he's actually going to pull into that bank. He's going to have an edge wherever he's at.
It's probably going to be a little warmer there, I guess.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about the ponds and stuff, in the afternoons or after a couple warm days, you're going to see those bass in the ponds. They're going to come up. Mm-hmm. They're going to be quite a bit more shallow than a lake bass or something like that, because the water's going to warm up that much quicker, and be a little easier to catch, So,
did you grow up fishing ponds, Don?
Yeah, ponds and rivers, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have huge man-made lakes where I'm from in Nebraska.
Fair enough, yep.
So we had a lot of farm ponds and the Elkhorn River. We used to hit that regularly.
Oh, yeah.
I love fishing the river.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean that's why a lot of people grow up. These farm ponds and ponds are easier access sometimes for folks, and that's where a lot of people learn to fish.
Absolutely.
And like I said, the rivers are a little easier access too.
Speaking
sometimes.
of learning to fish, let's back up just a second.
Sure.
Ian,
Let's do it.
tell us about how you got bit by this fishing thing.
You know, I don't even know. I honestly do remember catching the very first fish I ever caught in my life. I remember it like it was yesterday, and ever since then, I've just absolutely been hooked on it. You know, I've absolutely been.
How
hooked
old
on
were
it.
you when that happened?
I wasn't 10 yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
All right.
I was a boy.
Who took you?
Me and my dad.
All right.
Yep, sure was.
Good deal.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Shout out for dads.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Definitely. So, what are folks going to use on these ponds? What kind of bait are we looking at?
Anytime that I'm in a pond, weight of my bait is going to be key. A lot of the ponds, like where you're from, bottoms aren't necessarily hard. They're muddy. They're mucky. I generally do not want my bait in that muddy muck. They don't like it, right? So I'm going to look at something like this. Going to be like a shaky head worm, 1/8 ounce jig head with a little bitty, I think it's 5-inch worm, maybe.
Yeah.
That looks
Something
right.
like this. And how I'm actually going to fish it is I am going to drag it on the bottom, but it's more to me about after you kind of pop it up a little bit and it's drifting down, tail's kind of moving a little bit and it's just going to drift right in front of his face. Right as it gets to the bottom, I'm just going to barely hop it. When I'm talking about hopping, I'm not talking about like you're jerking a spoon offshore. I'm talking about little bitty pops just to get it exactly right. Exactly right. But weight's going to be my biggest key. So I'm at like an 1/8 ounce. I'm on a bitsy bug like this, 1/4 ounce, little bitty weights. You know, we don't want to be digging in the dirty mud. So, and then of course a jerkbait, that's always an awesome choice in the wintertime, you know, and we'll go over colors and that kind of thing, how I select my colors a little bit later.
Sure.
But that jerkbait jig and a shaky head, you know,
That's an impressive collection that Ian's brought. So if you're listening on the radio, be sure and check out the video version so you can see these things.
Yeah, we'll try to
Absolutely.
explain some of the colors and stuff too, and be a little more explain things a little bit better for those listening on the radio. But yeah, if
Absolutely.
you get a chance, go watch it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Tune in and watch the show. That shaky head, I've fished one of those, I believe, a couple times. And does the weight goes down, the fish, the bait kind of swims up?
Generally,
a little bit?
yep. That's exactly right. It's a great, and you know, like I tell all of my clients, that's a bait that you can catch them on. I don't care what time of year it is. You can catch fish on that bait. I don't care what lake you're on.
And keep moving it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it may just be little bitty drags or it could be little hops, you know. Harder bottom, I'm going to kind of drag it.
Okay.
Muddier bottom, I don't want to be dragging, kicking up, you know, a bunch of funk.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, does that cover ponds? What do you think?
Pretty well.
All right. Well, let's jump into rivers. There's a lot of rivers in Tennessee. A lot of good fishing in the rivers here in
There is.
Tennessee. And so let's jump into maybe just old rivers first. Start there. And where would you find bass in the wintertime?
So the wintertime bass out on these rivers where the water's moving, ultra easy to pinpoint because they are not going to be in the current. I don't care where you are. They're not going to work in that current. They're not going to work in the cold water like that. So whether it be a rock, boulder, or a hole, that's where your fish are going to be. Your larger concentrations of bass, they're actually going to be in holes that are on the bottom. And I'm not talking about ultra deep holes. I'm talking just enough to get out of that current. You know, not only is the current rolling over the hole, but the bottom contour itself, whether it be rocks or humps or what, that's actually washing the water up over their heads. That's how they're eating. You know, the bait fish, crawfish, whatever, coming over their heads, but they're just kind of hanging down there in that hole.
Yeah, that's kind of the equivalent of us having to tread water all day.
That's exactly right. We ain't going to do it.
I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, holes, current breaks, wing dams, anything like that, that's the deal.
Yeah, so
That's the deal.
What about the oxbows and that kind of thing? If it's a branch off of the river,
Absolutely.
those good spots as well.
Absolutely. Generally, in your oxbows, your current's already going to be diminished. So we're not going to have quite the current in there, those are awesome spots, you know. And again, even with the river fish, they're going to want to be around wood. They're going to want to be around a little break, a wall, something, you know, and that just kind of makes it even better for them, you know, if you've got a log or something like that.
Yeah.
So how do you determine your depth? How do you determine your depth on these on the rivers?
So generally, just like on a lake, I'm going to look at the overall depth of the river. You know, deep in one river may be 10 or 12 foot, whereas you go to another river, deep's going to be 80 or 90 foot. So I'm going to determine the general depth. You know, if I'm in a 20 foot river system, I know that there's a good chance that those, you know, bass are going to be around that 20 foot mark in the wintertime, you know. Whereas if I'm in a deeper system, you know, I know they're not going to go into 80 foot of water here. They're just not going to do it. They'll hang around that ledge, you know, of that hole as long as it's in the right depth. Also looking at bait, you know, your bait's going to tell you a lot of stuff.
And are they the same depth all winter long, or do they fluctuate?
They'll absolutely go up and down, you know, and that's that verticality. They want to change water temperatures and depths with as little effort as possible. Yeah. So that's kind of where those edges and that kind of thing come from.
Some folks, you know, say, "Oh, I caught fish here the other day at this level," but that could change, right?
But it doesn't take a couple degrees in water temperature, and it's like you never caught them.
Maybe in the same day it changes.
That's absolutely a fact. That's absolutely right.
Well, okay. So what's your bait of choice on a river?
There again, you can't hardly beat a shaky head.
Okay.
You know, it's light. It's going to be close to the bottom, so you don't want this digging into that rock. You're going to hang. It's going to be so aggravating. It's unbelievable. But if you're good and patient and you cast up from where you're actually trying to bring that bait down to, and kind of let that current drift that bait, you know, and you're just kind of, you don't want it digging. You just kind of want it ticking, kind of working its way over the rock.
Gotcha.
Shaky head in a jig, you're literally work the same way. I like this bitsy bug jig in the winter, got a little bitty profile to it. You know, they don't always want a great big meal. Or if I need heavier, then I'm going to go to a heavier jig, but it's also going to be a finesse jig. So I want that smaller profile. This, I believe, is a half or maybe a 5/8 head, where I get the little profile, but I get the weight if you're in a little bit heavier current. So also a jerkbait, you know. These can be great in current. Obviously, you know, you're going to...
That's all right.
It, buddy. They're going to... they're obviously going to suspend in the water column. You're going to jerk them, and generally that bait's just going to kind of go by the fish in a very natural fashion, more or less. So always, you know, that's a really good bait.
Now, you've showed us a wider range of colors here. From the shaky head, the dark blue, the dark greens, and the lighter, you know, khakis in that green jig or whatever you call that, yellow maybe.
Yes, sir.
And then this bright bait. So how do you choose your color in the wintertime?
So a lot of color, you know, it's you'll go to certain lakes and it'll be a red lake. You know, it's just these red crankbaits in the wintertime and early spring, they're just going to catch the fire out of them. Whereas you go to another lake, you know, and it's a different color. Red is always a good color during the wintertime or the early spring. I have no idea why. I've heard tons of theories on it, but I don't know. You know, that's obviously a rattle trap. Awesome bait. You know, that's more of a reflex bite. I really like a chrome in a rattle trap. You know, you're going to get a lot of the flash as that bait's ripping through the water. Awesome.
Kind of a spoon look too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, crawfish colors, you know, on your highland reservoirs. We're going to leave that one there. She's locked up. There's that red again. You know, I've got red in just about every crankbaits, you know, that I throw. And when we're talking about a jerkbait, this is going to be more of a visual deal. So dirtier water, we want a little bit more of a
brighter
color, solid color. Whereas we look here in our cleaner water, it's more of a transparent color.
Okay.
You know, so you just kind of want to get their attention. You don't really want him seeing it necessarily, you know, but, so yeah, it's,
because you look at that and you think, oh, that's a minnow. That's the color of a minnow, or closer than that yellow. And you're like, well, they don't eat that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's not what they're used to seeing.
Absolutely. And what's kind of weird is that we go down to Tim's Ford every year and have a ball. ultra clean water. You can, you feel like you can see the bottom in 20 foot. And that color right there, I have absolutely killed them on. And it's a brown fish thing usually, but it's like there is nothing in nature, buddy, that looks like, but they can't stand
and
it.
Ian's holding up a yellow color with kind of a purple ridge on the back.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you say brown fish. What kind of fish?
Smallmouth.
Okay.
Smallmouth.
Right.
Yeah.
This is fishing 101.
Bronze back.
That's right. Yeah. That's a smallmouth killer, buddy, wherever you go.
Most Tennesseans know what a brown fish is, but I'll just make sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, smallmouth are great.
Absolutely.
And we didn't mention. Well, we'll get to that later. All right, let's go into lakes. You mentioned a little bit on some of the baits there in the lakes, but let's just start out with where would you start on a highland reservoir?
All right, on a highland reservoir, as we go through the fall in that drawdown, ultra hard to catch them because those water's coming down. A lot of times there's not a worse, I guess, condition to fish than that water drawdown. They'll pull out and they'll kind of suspend. Super, super hard to catch. As everything kind of levels out, it's about to be game on. Then I'm looking for either a river channel or a creek channel. That's really what I'm going to focus on in our lakes is channels. That's what the bass are actually using as their highways, whether it be a creek channel or a river channel. So anything that we talk about from here out is going to reference to that channel, and that is their lifeline. That is their highway.
And so is that channel deeper? I guess it would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where they're going to go. They're going to go deeper against those walls, maybe.
Yep, absolutely. So, like he's saying, bluff walls. So that's what a wall is going to give that bass is the availability to change their water depth with very, very little effort. If they're out on a really flat point and they have to go 1.5 miles to reach that channel, that's probably not a very high percentage area. Whereas if it's on a bluff and he wants to change 10 foot, ultra easy, he either goes up or down 10 foot.
Wow.
So that verticality in the winter is absolutely critical, So like I was talking about earlier, we've had a couple warm days in a row. It's like you're obviously going to get warmer water as you go up shallow. I don't care if I'm throwing a square bill in 2 foot of water. Before I go toss that bait, in my mind, I'm asking myself, where is that channel? Because I'm not going to go throw it on a random bank. I'm going to throw it on a bank ultra shallow, but it's going to be right close to that creek channel, river channel, however it may be.
Okay.
So you've got to keep the creek channels and the river channels. You've got to be close to them generally.
Yeah.
You don't choose your bait just because you're fishing off a bank. You choose it the depth you want to go, but make sure you're on that channel.
That's absolutely, or really close to it.
Right.
Really close to it.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
Yes, sir.
So, so now there's the points on the lakes as well.
Yep.
They're still going to be out there at some point. So
Absolutely.
How would you fish that?
So when we look at a map, we've got hundreds and hundreds of points on any of these lakes. There again, I'm going to look at my river and my creek channels. Number one, everything else outside that, if it's not relatively close, I'm not even considering it, right? So that's number one. Number two, I want that point, if at all possible, to run directly into that creek or river channel.
Okay.
All right, so that channel is going to come right up next to that point. That's absolutely key right there. And furthermore, what I'm looking for on that point, generally with my electronics, is going to be that little bit of different, whether it be like literally a log, or it's muddier bottom and then boom, there's rock, or it's ultra sharp drop right here and it kind of levels out and then it goes ultra. There's little bitty key things that me and you may not even ever think about. We know we catch them there, but it's like that very, very little minute detail is, what's holding those fish. And you're talking during the wintertime, we're not talking a couple fish. You're talking wads of fish.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely talking big groups of these fish,
So when you find them, you're going to find them, right?
Generally speaking, absolutely. If you're catching them down a bluff wall, you better keep on going down the bluff wall because there's probably more, or out off a point or, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and staying warm. I guess if they stay together, they maybe stay a little warmer as well. Yeah.
Very possibly. Yep.
I'm no biologist, but I want to hang out.
But we
with my
know
friends.
a lot of them.
Yeah, we know a lot of them. Yeah. Oh, so anyway, okay. So we hit the long points, structures, and rocks. So when we're talking about these lakes, what lakes are we talking about? Not Reelfoot, right?
No. That's a little different animal there. No, we're talking about like your Tim's Ford, like your Del Hollow, even like your Percy Priest.
Okay.
The majority of the lakes here in our area, other than like Old Hickory, that's a true river system, something like that, so there's a bunch of these lakes around for sure.
Well, I guess, how does Kentucky and say Barkley and some of those fall?
They're a little more like a river system, say like an Old Hickory, like a natural. They're not obviously not natural, but they don't really fish like a Highland reservoir. Okay. They're a little different dog,
Well, let's jump into those other dogs. Well, actually, let's do baits first.
Yeah,
what baits on these Highlands?
Absolutely. So, like we're talking about the long points going out into the creek channel, you would be shocked how cold you can catch fish on a crankbait. This is a 5XD, I believe it is. So it's got an ultra hard, ultra wide wobble, almost like a wiggle wort or something like that. It just dives a little deeper. We've caught them in the, mid to low 40s on it. And I mean, you can tell the fish didn't want to bite it, but it came by and he can't help it, right?
So that's a crankbait with, looks like almost like a camo green back and a white belly almost.
Root beer color.
Root beer, okay.
Catches them everywhere. Not only that, so that's got an ultra hard wobble. Sometimes they want it ultra finesse with a very tight wobble.
Okay.
This has got 0 rattles in it.
Yeah,
it's actually a balsa. It's actually a balsa wood, and what you're hearing is the hooks.
Just the hooks banging against it.
Exactly. So it's got a really, really tight wobble. But key here is that we've got to be on the bottom. We've got to be hitting. We've got to be making contact with the bottom. We've got to be deflecting, to make that bass bite. Also, a rattle trap, it's great to try to yo-yo them if it's deeper, where you're kind of hopping it and then kind of letting it fall, where you're maintaining that bottom contact where we know the fish are.
Right.
That's a 1/2 ounce, obviously red and that chrome are my two go-tos. And then these little shad wraps and everybody hates to throw these darn things. They are so aggravating. They're so light, but they catch fish. Buddy.
I like those.
They catch the fire out of them. But,
I caught one of the biggest fish I've ever caught on something like that.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it at all. A couple colors I like to throw is like that orangish kind of burnt orange color. Obviously the red again. And then I always like a natural color, which it's around here somewhere. Just a natural shad color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to another type of body of water similar to, say, Kentucky Lake or Old Hickory or that kind of water. Not your Highland, but you're more in the channel more.
Yep. So more of like a river system.
River system, yeah.
Like an Old Hickory, Barkley, or Kentucky Lake, like he was saying. There again, 90% of what I'm doing, I'm right on the channel, buddy. Right on the channel. And more in particular, I want to be on a bluff wall on the main river. That is not every fish obviously in the lake can't go to a bluff wall, but the majority of our fish, they're going to be right there on that channel. And even more than that, the ends of them. So the ends of the bluffs where it starts or ends, however you look at it, buddy, that can be ridiculous. and jerkbaits, Alabama rigs, which I don't know how I forgot an Alabama rig, but I did. But those are awesome baits. There again, like a jerkbait, it's a visual deal, so you need that cleaner water. You don't have to be on the bottom with it, right? Because they're looking at it. And, because generally on these walls, they can be, obviously, they're not necessarily going to be on the bottom. They're going to actually suspend in the water column where they're most comfortable. And then he's just kind of watching, looking. So you don't have to have it on the bottom like you would a crankbait or something like that,
Yeah.
So
and there's a lot of technology that can help you find these fish.
Absolutely.
And not all fishermen have the sonar and the side scan and things like that. But I guess you probably use some of that with your guide service for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So tell us about what you're seeing with those. How do you measure that depth, and what are you seeing on those side scans and
so
things?
Most of the time, this time of year, you won't necessarily be able to graph over your fish and say, holy cow, here we go, like we can during the summertime. More what I'm looking for is the bait. Where's that bait at? Because most of these lakes, that's where your bass are going to be. Not only that, harder bottom, you know, I really want to be away from the muck, in particular this time of year. That rock's going to hold the heat quite a bit better. And obviously they like the rock a little bit, or hard pan bottom, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily graphing over fish during the winter, but yet where's the bait at? Where's the hard bottom at? You can tell a lot.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot.
Technology is crazy. It's amazing what you can see on some of those.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, all right. Well, have you ever fished Reelfoot? What's it like?
Never
It's our
actually
own-
fished it.
It's our own natural
That's
lake.
right.
In Tennessee.
That's right. I've only duck hunted up there, but it is, buddy, it's wild. It is different. Stumps and more stumps.
Yeah. It's gonna say like it tear up a boat pretty quick.
Buddy, it is a different animal, but buddies that have been up there, guys that I've talked to, there again, just like in a pond, you're going deep. You know, with that,
As deep as you can go, right? It's
that's
pretty
exactly
shallow. Pretty
right.
shallow.
Very shallow, very
Yeah.
shallow. But you're looking for those holes. You're looking for those deeper pockets. You know, and yes, there is a deeper part of Reelfoot, but there again, it's relative to if you're way at the upper end away from the hole, and you've got a 2 or 3 foot drop, even that can absolutely hold those fish.
Gotcha,
you know,
yeah.
so it's very relative to where you are.
Yeah.
You know, kind of what you're doing.
Cool. Well, I think that covered most of it. Anything you want to hit on real quick? We're going to run out of time, but anything else that you think is key for fishing 101? I mean, just your basics.
Keep your head up and just keep on fishing. You know, like I said earlier, 90% of your fish are going to use 10% of the water, maybe.
Right.
So once you find them, keep on going. And just because you caught them doing whatever today doesn't mean that's what it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So real quick, what kind of rods and reels are you going to be throwing on some of this?
Oh Lord! So like on my jerk baits, 6.5 medium, whereas on like a 1/2 ounce jig or something, I'm going to go 7.2 medium heavy, or even heavy.
Okay.
Heavy stick.
Bait casting probably.
Generally, yes sir.
Yeah.
Other than my shaky head there.
But don't be afraid of the spinning reel if you need to.
Heck no, buddy. It catches them now.
It'll drag or crankbait too. won't
It catches them, baby. That's right.
FishOldHickory.com.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind to hook up with Ian sometime. Ian Huey. And we're glad he's been here with us. This is our first edition of Fishing 101.
Yeah.
And it was where the bass go, and then we'll cover some more. Where the bass go in the summer, where they go in the fall. We'll cover some more. But
Let's do it.
But we're going to try to come back to you each month.
I love it.
With some new stuff, and Ian's going to come back with us, and you may find us out on the water too.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
To get out there and do a show on location.
Field report.
There you
That'd
go.
be awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, Ian, and we appreciate you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Don, thank you.
You bet.
And we'll see y'all next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.